My name is Ashley. At 32, I've spent the last decade dedicated to building my career as a manager at Preston and Associates. While my younger sisters, Sarah and Emma, were busy starting families, I was scaling the corporate ladder. Don't get me wrong, I love my job. But sometimes, I wonder if I've missed out on something along the way. No husband, no kids. Just me in my corner office with a panoramic view of the bustling city. It was a typical Tuesday morning when my phone buzzed on my desk. Glancing at the screen, I saw Sarah's name flash. With one hand on my coffee mug and the other sifting through a mountain of quarterly reports, I picked up. "Hey Ash." Sarah's cheerful voice filled the line. At 26, my youngest sister had always been the bubbly one, her energy almost contagious. "Got a minute?" "Sure, what's up?" I replied, pushing aside some papers and half listening, while I reviewed the numbers in front of me. "So, you know Mom's turning 60 in 2 months, right?" Sarah paused for dramatic effect. "Well, we're planning something special, and we need everyone to chip in." That got my attention. "Okay, how much are we talking about?" When Sarah named the figure, I nearly choked on my coffee. It was more than I'd spent on my last vacation, which, come to think of it, was 3 years ago. "I know it's a lot," Sarah added quickly, sensing my hesitation. "But it's for Mom, you know?" No, it's fine," I said. "Already pulling up my banking app, I'll transfer it right now." "Great. Oh, and one more thing," she added casually, as though it were an afterthought. "Make sure you take a week off work for the celebration. Don't plan anything else for that time, okay?" The routine grind. The next few weeks passed in a blur of meetings, deadlines, and long nights at the office. Every so often, I'd wonder what Sarah and Emma were planning with all that money, but whenever I asked, they'd brush me off with vague responses. Eventually, work took over, and Mom's birthday plans faded to the back of my mind. Saturday finally arrived, and with it came a family dinner at our parents' house. The familiar chaos of our gatherings enveloped me. Dad cracking his same old jokes, Mom fussing over everyone's plates, Aunt Susan laughing too loud, and cousins Michael and Rachel bickering about something trivial. I was savoring a rare moment of peace when Sarah, seated across from me, pushed her peas around her plate with exaggerated casualness. "So," she began, her voice holding a mischievous undertone, "we've finally got everything arranged for Mom's birthday." "Great," I said enthusiastically. "We're all going to spend a week at Mountain Pine Resort." The table erupted in excited chatter. Mom was practically glowing. Dad was already talking about hitting the slopes, and Sarah and Emma were debating which ski runs they wanted to try. The catch. "Wait," I interrupted, feeling a little left out. "Why didn't anyone tell me earlier? I don't even have a ski suit, and there's barely any time to get one now." The room went silent, too silent. I noticed Mom exchange a glance with Dad before clearing her throat. The sinking feeling in my stomach intensified. "Actually, honey," Mom began, her tone carefully sweet, the way it always was when she was about to ask for a favor she knew I couldn't refuse. "We were hoping you could do us a huge favor and watch the kids while we're there." I froze. "You want me to watch the kids? All 5 of them?" My mind reeled as I counted them off automatically. Emma's toddler Jason, Sarah's baby girl Lucy, cousin Michael's twins Tom and Anna, and Rachel's son Pete. 5 kids, all under the age of 7. Mom smiled brightly. "Well, you're so good with them. And they absolutely adore their Aunt Ashley." I scanned the room, hoping for some sign of humor. A smirk, a giggle. Anything to show this was some elaborate family joke. But all I saw were expectant faces, waiting for my inevitable yes. The moment of truth. "That's not fair," I finally said, my voice strained and unfamiliar even to me. "You're all going skiing and relaxing, and you expect me to be the babysitter? I want to celebrate with everyone too. It's Mom's birthday," I said, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. Emma, my 28-year-old sister, sighed heavily and set her fork down. "Come on, Ashley. You'll be bored there anyway. It's going to be noisy and crowded." "Bored?" I repeated, my eyebrows shooting up. "How would you know if I'd be bored?" Emma hesitated, exchanging a quick glance with Sarah, who seemed all too eager to jump in. "You're great with the kids, Ash," she said, her tone dripping with false sweetness. "They adore you." And let's be honest, it's not like you need a break from family life. My chest tightened. What's that supposed to mean? Sarah tilted her head, her condescending smile firmly in place. It just means you don't have children or a husband to get away from, unlike the rest of us. We need this break. You understand, right? Her words hit me like a slap. The green beans on my plate blurred as tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Quietly, I pushed my chair back and stood up. Ashley, Mom's voice carried a hint of concern, but not enough to stop me. Without a word, I grabbed my purse from the counter and headed for the door. Nobody moved to stop me. Nobody called out. The only sound was Mom's voice, drifting from the dining room as I stepped outside. Don't worry, she said casually, as if this was nothing. She'll be a little offended at first, but she'll come around. She always does. Reflection in the night. The crisp evening air stung my cheeks, but it was a welcome relief. It cleared my head as I walked to my car, the faint sounds of their laughter and chatter fading behind me. 10 years, an entire decade, of putting everyone else first, of being the responsible one, the reliable one. And this was what I got in return. The worst part wasn't even the babysitting request. It was the casualness with which they assumed I'd agree, the way they planned the entire trip without me. My money, my time, my vacation days. All used without even a single thought to ask if I wanted to join them as an equal, as part of the family. Back in my apartment, I paced the floor, my mind replaying every family dinner, every holiday, every moment I'd sacrificed for them. Each memory, once warm and nostalgic, now took on a darker, bitter edge. 16. Me standing in the kitchen, making dinner while Mom helped Emma with her homework. 18. Skipping a spring break trip with friends to babysit Sarah so Mom and Dad could have a weekend getaway. 21. Working 2 jobs during college to help pay for Emma's prom dress. The memories kept coming, unrelenting and sharp. Ashley, can you watch Jason for a few hours? Emma's voice echoed in my head. Ashley, would you mind taking the twins for the weekend? Michael's familiar requests played back like a broken record. Rachel's overwhelmed with Pete. And you're so good with kids. Mom's voice chimed in. And I had always said yes. Every single time. Even when I had important meetings the next day. Even when I was running on fumes, barely holding myself together. A painful realization. I sank onto my couch, the cool leather grounding me as I stared at the photo albums on my coffee table. There they were, snapshots of family vacations, holiday gatherings, moments that should have been joyful. But in every image, I realized I was always behind the camera, capturing memories for everyone else. Or I was in the kitchen, missing the laughter and fun in the living room. For years, I'd taken pride in being the reliable one, the responsible sister, the perfect daughter. But now those labels felt like a trap, a role I never chose but was forced into. When was the last time someone asked me what I wanted? The question haunted me as Sarah's words replayed in my mind. It's not like you need a break from family life. As if my life, my career, my choices, was somehow less valid because I wasn't married with children. As if the years of sacrifices I'd made meant nothing simply because they didn't fit their narrow definition of what mattered. Sleep eluded me that night. Tossing and turning, I replayed the years in my mind. The scholarships I worked for to avoid burdening my parents. The career I began immediately after graduation to help put both Sarah and Emma through school. The late nights, the overtime, the sacrifices. I climbed the corporate ladder while sending money home, sacrificing my own dreams to lighten their loads. By morning, I knew I had to speak up. I wasn't confrontational by nature, but I was determined to resolve this in a way that made them understand, without tearing the family apart. At a reasonable hour on Sunday morning, I picked up my phone and called Mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hi, Mom, I said, forcing calm into my voice. I've been thinking about the resort trip. Actually, I have a solution. I'll pay for a professional babysitter to watch the kids. That way everyone, including me, can enjoy the celebration together. There was a long pause. Too long. That won't work, Ashley, Mom finally said, her voice tight. We can't trust some stranger with the children. They're used to you. Mom, I want to be part of the celebration too. I said, trying to explain. It's your birthday. I could find someone qualified. Someone with excellent references. She cut me off, her tone sharper now. You're not exactly a social butterfly. You'd probably be uncomfortable with all the noise and activity anyway. The kids will keep you busy, and you enjoy spending time with them. It's perfect for everyone. The call ended with a sharp click before I could respond. I was still staring at my phone in disbelief when it buzzed again. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. How dare you, she hissed the moment I answered. Excuse me? I replied, caught off guard by her hostility. Mom just told me about your little suggestion. Hiring a babysitter, she snapped. Are you trying to ruin everything? Ruin everything? I repeated, sitting up straighter. I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone. We already have a solution. Sarah's voice rose with anger. Everything's planned, Ashley, everything. The resort is booked, the activities scheduled. And now you're being completely selfish, trying to change all our arrangements at the last minute. Her words hit me like a slap. I'm being selfish? Yes, you are, she shot back. We've been planning this for weeks. Everyone's excited. And now you're throwing a wrench in everything. Because you can't just do this one thing for the family. My hands started shaking. One thing? Are you serious? Her voice turned cold. You know what? If you ruin this trip for everyone, if you spoil Mom's birthday celebration, don't bother talking to me again. I mean it, Ashley. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, stunned. Seconds later, it buzzed again. This time, a string of messages from Emma. Family needs to stick together, her first text read. We all help each other out. Another followed. Remember when I watered your flowers last year while you were at that conference? And then, you're good with the kids. They love you. Why can't you just forget about being resentful and think about what's best for the family? My fingers flew across the keyboard. A real family doesn't take advantage of each other. A real family respects each other's wishes and includes everyone in their plans. A real family doesn't manipulate and guilt trip each other. The three dots appeared and disappeared, but no reply came. That's when it hit me. The way they'd asked for money without explaining what it was for. The way they casually told me to take time off work without mentioning the resort. The way they'd announced their plans at dinner, as though it were already set in stone. They'd planned this all along. While I worked late nights, babysat their kids, and shouldered responsibilities, they schemed behind my back. They'd used my money, arranged my schedule, and decided to dump 5 children on me without even asking. And now that I wasn't playing along with their script, they were using every manipulation tactic they could think of: guilt, threats, emotional blackmail, to force me back into the role they'd assigned me. A new resolve. Something strange happens when you finally see through the fog of manipulation. Suddenly, everything becomes crystal clear. For the first time in years, I felt something other than guilt. Determination. I opened my laptop and started typing. Within an hour, I had booked a beachfront hotel in Florida. Nothing extravagant, but it boasted a balcony overlooking the ocean and was within walking distance of everything I might need. I even splurged on a first-class plane ticket. Why not? I had plenty of money, since I wouldn't be spending a week skiing or babysitting. The next few days at work were unusually serene. My family had gone radio silent, likely assuming I was at home preparing for a week of child care, buying snacks, planning activities, and organizing the chaos they'd leave behind. The thought made me smile as I packed my new swimsuit and beach clothes. Tropical vacation in the middle of winter? My colleague Janet asked, noticing me checking Florida's weather forecast. Sometimes, you need to do something unexpected, I replied, surprised by how good it felt to say those words aloud. Departure day. The morning of my flight, I gave my apartment one last glance. Everything was in its usual pristine order. Empty fridge, locked windows, spotless countertops. Force of habit, I supposed. Except this time, I wouldn't be here to answer desperate babysitting calls. As the plane took off, I turned off my phone and tucked it into my bag. No social media, no emails, no family drama. Just me, the beach, and a week of unfiltered freedom. The warm Florida air greeted me like an embrace when I stepped out of the airport. Palm trees swayed in the breeze, and I could already smell the salty ocean. My hotel room was even better than the photos. with a balcony offering an unobstructed view of endless blue waves crashing against the shore. That afternoon, I walked barefoot on the beach, the warm sand squeezing between my toes. When was the last time I'd done something like this? Something just for me. I swam in the hotel pool, read a book uninterrupted, and enjoyed a quiet dinner at a beachside restaurant. No cutting food for children. No cleaning up spills. From my balcony, I watched the sunset while sipping a glass of wine. There were no thoughts about bedtime routines or morning schedules, just the soothing sound of the waves and the hum of my newfound peace. On my final morning in Florida, I soaked in the last moments of tranquility. I knew I'd have to turn my phone back on eventually, but I wasn't prepared for what awaited me. The moment my phone powered up, it buzzed nonstop. Messages, voicemails, calls, hundreds of them. The timestamps showed they'd started a week ago, early in the morning. My hands trembled as I scrolled through them. The first messages were from Sarah. "Where are you?" "We're outside your house." Then Emma. "Ashley, open the door. The kids are getting restless." Michael chimed in. "Hey, we brought Tom and Anna like planned. Are you home?" And Rachel. "Ashley, what's going on? Pete's asking for you." I could picture it all clearly. My sisters and cousins standing outside my empty house. 5 confused children in tow. Their suitcases packed for a ski resort. Their perfectly laid plans were unraveling before their eyes. From confusion to panic. The messages quickly turned frantic. "Ashley, this isn't funny. Where are you? Pick up your phone. What are we supposed to do with the kids? You can't just disappear like this." Then came the anger. Sarah's words were sharp and venomous. "You selfish witch. How could you do this to us?" Emma wasn't far behind. "I can't believe you're this immature. Mom's birthday is ruined because of you." Even Aunt Susan, who rarely got involved, let loose with expletives I didn't know she knew. For years, I'd carried their expectations without complaint, quietly enduring their thoughtless demands. But as I sat on the hotel balcony, my toes still sandy and the sun warm on my skin, I felt none of the guilt they were trying to pile on me. Instead, I felt free. They weren't angry because I'd abandoned them. They were angry because I'd stepped out of the role they'd assigned me. For once, I'd prioritized myself. And their carefully constructed plans had collapsed without their safety net, me. The messages grew nastier with each scroll. "You've ruined everything. Those children were counting on you." Sarah fumed. Mom chimed in later, her disappointment palpable even in text form. "Ashley, I never thought you'd be this selfish after everything we've done for you." Dad, who rarely texted, sent a single message. "Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy." The voicemails were worse. I could hear the anger, the disappointment, and the accusations as their voices cracked with frustration. Extended family members I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly felt compelled to weigh in, calling me unreliable and selfish. It was like meeting a new version of my family, one no longer veiled by pleasantries and casual requests but stripped bare, exposing the entitlement lurking beneath. I sat in my serene hotel room, the sound of waves in the background, as their words washed over me. For years I had been their crutch, their free childcare, their reliable safety net. Now, in the absence of that support, they revealed exactly how little they valued me beyond what I could do for them. Returning home, I unpacked my suitcase, my soul lighter than it had been in years. But before I could fully settle in, there was a loud, aggressive knock at the door. Before I could reach it, I heard the unmistakable sound of a key turning in the lock. They stormed in like a hurricane, Mom leading the charge, flanked by Emma and Sarah, all red-faced and brimming with fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Sarah screamed, her voice shrill. "You've ruined everything." I stood my ground, watching them rant in the same living room, where I'd babysat their children countless times. Mike and John refused to stay with the kids. Emma spat, referring to their husbands. They suddenly had urgent business to handle, so Sarah had to stay home with all 5 children. "She missed Mom's birthday because of you." Mom's voice joined the chaos, growing louder with each word. "Nobody could enjoy themselves. Your father was so upset he couldn't even ski properly." Their accusations flew fast and sharp, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, I felt an unfamiliar calmness settle over me. And then, without warning, I laughed, a full, genuine laugh that cut through their shouting like a blade. They stopped mid-sentence, staring at me as though I'd lost my mind. What's so funny? Mom demanded, her face flushed with anger. I wiped tears from my eyes, my laughter fading but my voice steady. Don't you see how ridiculous this all is? You planned this trip without consulting me. You decided I'd watch your kids, took my money, and just assumed I'd go along with it. And now that everything has fallen apart, you're here calling me selfish? That's absurd. But you've always helped before. Mom protested, her voice trembling. And that's exactly the problem, I replied. Because I always helped, you stopped asking. You stopped considering my feelings or my plans. You took me for granted. They stood in stunned silence for a moment, but the realization I'd hoped for didn't come. Instead, Mom's expression hardened. You've hurt your family, she said coldly. This isn't how I raised you. I met her gaze without flinching. No, Mom. What hurts this family is how you treat me. I've spent years sacrificing my time and energy for all of you, and it's never been enough. I'm done. Her final words were chilling. Then perhaps I don't have a daughter named Ashley anymore. If that's what you want, I said quietly, then so be it. It's been 6 weeks since that confrontation. 6 weeks of silence from my family, except for the occasional passive-aggressive social media post. Some people only think about themselves, Mom wrote last week, accompanied by a cascade of sympathetic comments. Family should always come first, Sarah posted, her daughter's photo beneath the caption. Emma's latest was a long tirade about toxic people who destroy family bonds with their selfishness. Once these posts would have devastated me. Now I just scroll past them, a small smile playing on my lips. Reclaiming myself. My weekends are no longer on standby for desperate babysitting calls. I've joined a local book club, booked a solo trip to Europe, and started exploring hobbies I'd long neglected. Sometimes in quiet moments, I think about my nieces and nephews. I miss them, but I don't miss how they were weaponized against me. Maybe one day, when they're older, they'll understand. Maybe they'll even break free of the same toxic patterns. As for the emergency key Mom used that day, it still sits in my drawer. Part of me considers mailing it back, but another part hesitates. Maybe I'm holding on to the faint hope that one day they'll understand how unfair their expectations were. But I'm no longer waiting for that day. Yesterday, I deleted the family group chat from my phone without fanfare. Some might call it selfish, my family certainly does. But I've come to realize there's a difference between selfishness and self-respect. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first.